Welcome to the Build with Boundaries podcast. My name is Manaz, and this podcast is for high achieving women looking to grow without sacrificing family and life. Discover what's missing and making you frustrated, and what's most important for you to achieve the success that you truly desire. All this without compromising the most important things in your life: your time, your family, your values, and your aspirations. So let's dive into today's topic. Hi, and welcome to another episode on the Human Design series. This is a really interesting topic that I want to cover because I see a lot of assumptions made on what human design is and what it is not. So I'm going to help you here, and hopefully through this episode, we will uncover some of the maybe things that we think that it is, and just give you a bit of guidance on actually what it is and what at the root it can do as a result of that. Because when we misinterpret or misunderstand something, it can mean that we dismiss it almost into not being whatever our assumption is, easy or applicable or relevant to us. And I don't want that for human design. As you know, I'm passionate about sharing what human design truly is and what it can do. So let's begin with what it's not. Now, if you are new to human design, I'm just going to give you a very quick summary of what it is. It is a system that blends a combination of different modalities, and that includes astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, chakra system, quantum physics, and genetics too. So there's a real modern and ancient vibe there. And what I want to begin with is, especially if you have perhaps come across it and you've generated your chart and you can see what it looks like, it has this resonance of with astrology quite strongly, as it does for all other systems too. But I guess astrology is very something that we grew up with, looking at horoscopes or star signs and things like that. And the other things are perhaps a little bit more nuanced and not something we're exposed to, especially for a long period of time. So from my personal point of view, I think it gets a bit of a bad rep in terms of it being associated with astrology. And the reason for that is that, just as I said, we grow up looking at, if you remember looking in the newspaper, you used to have like the horoscopes for that week, or, what's your star sign and what's the 2 sentences that it says about it. And they were always very kind of vague, and you could almost maybe make sense of any of them if you just picked any. And I guess this is true, right? That's what true insights are, when we take something and understand how it applies to us. But what I want to say is it's not just astrology, because astrology is very, very powerful in itself. And it's not this vague kind of description of something that you think may or may not apply to you. And it may be relevant to you, but it depends, how you take it. That is not what human design is. Human design is very much the opposite of that. So I just want to go through what it is not. Secondly, looking at things like profiling systems, like, we go through lots of these quizzes and tests on personality type and, what are you? And even profiling systems that are a bit more advanced. And if you have been in the corporate world like I have, then you will have come across probably some of the very common ones that were definitely used, at least, I'm talking 15 years ago. There are a few that seem to be repeated and used, and you get these acronyms for what you are, what type you are, and all of the work that goes into them. It always felt like it was a box ticking exercise, because you come out with
something that might resonate in terms of you've answered all these questions. Usually there was a lot of them that were based on answering a lot of multiple choice questions, a lot of repetitive questions and asked in a different way, almost like it's trying to catch you out if you're going to say the same thing or slightly change your answer. That's my experience. And then when you get this as here's the result at the end after all that work, it doesn't really mean anything. And I think this is a problem just generally in any case with the profiling systems that corporates can be using, is it's all very well doing the exercise, but what do you do afterwards? What does it mean? Like, should you know what everybody is in your team? How do you treat people if you are this and they are that? What does that mean? Like in practice, it's just always felt very impractical. And human design is not that. Again, it is actually very, very practical. So it's flipping that on the head as well. In terms of your own experience, you may have gone through these types of quizzes or tests or even tools that you have been exposed to. So it's definitely not either of those, and isn't even just the astrology or just the I Ching or just the Kabbalah or just the chakra system or just the quantum physics. It's such a unique blend of all of these. It's like it's picking up all of the elements of these that are highly powerful and relevant to you and very unique to you, and is bringing it together to share you in a new light. Now, it's all very well I'm saying this, it sounds like it would be good, but what does that really mean? Where this comes into its own is that you are getting not just a profile system or a personality type of assessment, you are getting a personal guidance tool. And the reason it's a personal guidance tool is it does this in many ways. It helps us to just almost press the pause button. And then we look back at what happened in our life stories, our experiences, and there will be things that will make better sense to you. You will understand like why you have maybe made decisions you've made in the past. It will maybe help you see why you reacted in certain ways in different situations, maybe different relationships, like why certain events in your life have been so powerful, like whether that's a positive or a negative experience, it doesn't really matter, but it's showing you in a light of this is who you are. And as one of my clients said recently, it's like you're putting me on the table, like this is me. And I have never really seen myself like this ever. So that's what it does. It's almost like unpicking all the parts of you and the parts that are truly wonderful and truly unique. And there isn't a good human design or a bad human design. Like we are all absolutely 100% perfect in the way that our chart or our design will come through, because this is actually the essence of us. And it's very much related to what we are here to do and what we need to have. So, for example, like we spend a lot of time, especially in school, and we'll see this with our kids too, that, when somebody's not so good at something, we have this natural tendency to say, what if you tried a little bit harder? And I'm sure we've been told this when we were younger, like, that's what you got when you applied yourself this much. We need to work on this area. You're not very good at this. You didn't get X, or we need to get more than this percentage. All these things are pointing to trying to be better in the areas that we are perhaps not naturally tuned to. And when we are doing that, we are just meeting resistance. Like, it's so much harder. We'll know ourselves. Like, some people will be genuinely natural. Their natural ability is to be much more creative and they have maybe they are really good at the creative subjects. Maybe they are good at the practical. Maybe they're good at the kind of philosophical and thinking about things in a certain way, and psychology and religious education and all these history, all these subjects that that mean that you have to create share your perspectives in a really insightful way. And I think there is a space for all of that. But when we are naturally growing up, even as children, learning that we need to get better at the things we're not so good at, like that already starts this thing off for us that isn't actually helpful. Because what human design does is it not only puts us on the table, like lays it out exactly how it is, in a way that you have never seen yourself before. Because believe me, there will be parts of you that you do not consciously realize. And when you see that and it makes sense, like you completely own that, you start owning all of those. And when you start owning that, really you're accepting that they are your gifts. And rather than fighting against things, you will feel like you are standing in your power more. You're being more confidently yourself because you understand who you are better. And all of these things are so helpful. And I just want to share another aspect of human design, which it definitely is, and is perhaps not thought about in this way, that it is practical and it is actionable. So if you think back to those horoscopes and things, I mean, that was my story, astrology. Yes, it's a science, but I didn't see anything beyond the horoscopes. And maybe, you're thinking the same. But what I've found is I've been definitely aware of human design for at least, I would say, about 4 years. And the first time, like, I looked at it, I was just so overwhelmed. I printed off my chart and I put it away. I filed it away nicely, collecting dust, literally not doing anything with it because there is so much information there and you really don't know where to start. And the whole point of human design is to be helping you to find more ease in your life. So, but sharing that in a way, this is why it's taken me so long to understand about my own design and also to step up and actually share that with my clients. Because it's one thing knowing it, and for me, as you might know, my efficiency is my core value. And for me, it's just a waste of time if I share anything with anyone that is not relevant and doesn't actually have an impact. And for a long time, I thought that. And it's only when I started working with clients through sharing their human design that I realized, and I went back to myself when I got my first reading done to realize that there's so much insights that you can have, and just truly understanding how you are wired can take so much pressure off us. It's like we're almost carrying all these extra bags around with us, this heavy weight that is burdening us. And when you look at your human design, and I've certainly seen that with myself and clients that I've worked with, so where we've gone deep into their design, and when it's shared in a certain way, making it practical, making it actionable has been super important for me, because I just cannot do something and be a part of something that doesn't then empower somebody to be effective. So it goes way beyond doing a test or getting a score or finding out what type you are. It is giving you this personal guidance tool, and it becomes part of your toolkit. And the reason that it's a toolkit for life is that it helps you, going back to the sort of past, present, future, it helps you understand your past. It also helps you and reminds you of how to be present in your life, and how to make decisions in your life, how to do things in your life, and how to act in a way that you can be more you and do it with more ease, so that when there's more ease and less resistance, there is generally more happiness and joy that comes as well. And then also looking at the future as, how you are going to make sure that you are aligning with what it is that you truly want, because you may not have that just now, but there is some aspirations there. So it really gives this guidance, and the more every time I go over all of the material, I get new insights, and that is the most wonderful experience because, you've experienced some more stuff. And then when you've experienced some more stuff, there's more things to have insights on. And I firmly believe that then those insights that are relevant to you and that are actually you are ready for is what will come to you. So if you want to hear more stories and more detail of all the impact that human design can have, and to really understand whether it's even worth your time, because I completely understand time is our most precious asset and we need to be using it intentionally. So I am doing a live event on the 25th of September, what human design can do for you in business and life. And I'm going to share with you enough information so you can make that decision and see if human design is actually even worth exploring. That the last thing any of us need is to go down a rabbit hole that we didn't want to go into anyway. So to sign up for this, you just need to go to buildwithboundaries.com/event. And I cannot wait to see you there. There's just so much stuff I want to share. I am super, super excited to be able to do this. I've collated lots of stories and lots of juicy things that I want to share with you, and including my own experience with human design as well. So I will see you in the next episode. I hope that has been helpful and given you some food for thought. So that link again is buildwithboundaries.com/event.
This podcast is for you, so reach out and let me know what you thought about this episode. You can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram, where I also share valuable content. If you enjoyed this episode, then hit the subscribe or follow button on your favourite podcasting platform so you never miss another episode. I can't wait for you to join me for the next episode of the Build with Boundaries podcast.